listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's House of Cards After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's House of Cards After Show.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, AfterBuzzers. Welcome to Netflix original series House of Cards, Chapter 13, season finale. Bing is for doing. I'm your host, Thaddeus Massey, and joining me today is...
Hi guys, I'm Kostandyan.
Hi, Sofia Stanley.
And John Comerford.
Season finale. Emma Kostandyan and Sofia Stanley, John Comerford here at AfterBuzz. And where do we leave off last episode? We were saying, I said something about Lucas being a fool, and Sophia was like, no. That's the last thing I remember from last episode, because we didn't get really a chance to talk about the Lucas
Zoe
scenario.
You had something to share about that?
Well, I mean, I think that it's very easy to talk bad about him because he's a nice guy.
Right.
And I think that in this episode, in the finale, he proved himself that not only is he a nice guy and he's loyal to Zoe, one of the things he is extremely honest. You know, he even said that he felt like he was being manipulated to use his contacts because they were sleeping together.
Right.
But, I mean, his move getting the license plate number from Doug's license plate number when Rachel came to meet Zoe, stellar. The way that he maneuvered that prostitute in the bar.
What? Wait. She was whoa. That's an exclusive.
I thought that was amazing, you know, pretending to be a cop or vice or so forth and so on to get information. I think it proved that despite the cloak of being nice, he is a very seasoned journalist who has integrity, and that should never be made fun of.
But he was willing.
Okay, I'm going to explain why I said he was a fool, but go ahead, Emma.
No, he wasn't willing to give that up until he knew he was insecure about the relationship. So Zoe secured, you know, what the relationship was by explaining to him why she didn't reply to him and why she was quiet all the way to the airport. So I think he needed to hear that from her. And then after hearing that, he actually shows his true self, what he's capable of doing.
That's true, but he's always been ahead of her. I mean, he's always revealed more than she has, so it's nothing new that she's withholding or being quiet. I mean, he's always stepped out there before she has. So
Right. To me, the reason I call him a fool is not a fool like... I think it's just, for me, it's not professionally. He's obviously savvy. He obviously showed at the bar with the whole escort situation how savvy he is with attaining information. And then he set up the whole meeting thing and how he positioned himself and positioned Zoe to handle the meeting with Rachel. And then he was able to be on the counter opposite side of the building to see whose car it was. This dude is seasoned and... You know, just like you said, and it was something we knew because he was obviously a senior guy at the Herald who's been doing his thing. But I'm saying he's a fool in regards to how he's dealing with Zoe from a personal standpoint. He knows he's being played, and just from experience, look, I think he feels like he can help this girl to redeem herself. But for me, I feel like the issues that they have are character issues, and he is who he is. I think he feels like I can show this girl that you don't have to sleep with guys and don't have to do these underhanded things to get your story and get it the right way. But she is who she is. And I think he likes her because I think he sees some redeeming qualities in her. Ultimately, I believe the relationship is not going to work because they're just cut from two different cloths.
I think he's a rescuer.
He's a rescuer, and the rescuing doesn't work. I know firsthand.
He wants
rescuing
to be a white knight.
does not work.
Why? Wait, let's not get into personal things here.
We're not getting into personal. I just said firsthand, rescuing does not work. If he thinks he's going to save this girl, he is sorely mistaken.
He's only going to put her together and then walk away. Because it's a project.
It is a project. No. Inside joke. Anyway. So Zoe Zoe doesn't want to believe that Frank is this corrupt. And she has shown this by her conversations with Jeanine.
Yeah.
It's like Jeanine
She's in denial a little bit.
She's in denial. It's like, no, she cannot believe. That's why it's like...
I think it's because she can't believe she was
a part of it.
Exactly.
She's not only slept with the guy, she's been a part of this complete machine and allowed herself to be used as a tool for something that's ultimately corrupt, just to further her career, which pales in comparison to what's really going on. Her getting a little advance here and there in her career, okay, great. A crap load of people on Twitter know who you are now. Big deal. You got people that are getting killed over here and people whose careers and lives are being ruined, all to the benefit of this one guy. This one guy. I'm not going to say a congressman. This is one guy. Because ultimately, in the grand scheme, Frank is just this one guy who has goals to become whatever power. He's a power monger.
He's God.
You know,
he's in the church. He's praying to himself. I pray to myself for myself. He's God.
You know, now let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's take a look at this guy.
He has no soul whatsoever.
No, he
does believe in a soul.
This guy does believe in God, but he even mentioned in the beginning of that conversation, he says he was what was the word he used? He says, I have much disdain for me as you, or for you as you do for me.
Exactly.
So he's recognizing God's presence. He even looks down and starts talking to the devil at some point. And he's I don't even believe that you have any. He's talking crap to the devil. He's talking crap to God. Then he talks to the devil and talks crap to him. And then he talks crap to Peter and says, look, if you have the balls to step out and talk to me, then come out and talk to me.
Like you should have when you were alive.
Exactly. He says, are you even going to have the balls to do it now?
But you know what, though? I mean, I think all it shows, it would actually have been better if Frank didn't believe in God. He believes in God and is completely and utterly disrespectful.
Yes.
Because we were talking when he lit the candle, I was like, okay, so why are you lighting the candle if you don't believe in any of this? And then when he blew all of them out, I think I literally screamed at the TV. I was like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? Like, that is so disrespectful, because basically, in essence, you're now blowing out the prayers of other people. Like, and that is, again, I think him showing his narcissism, his godlike. I mean, he thinks he's God.
Yeah, he has a God. He definitely has a God complex, and he definitely has this thing with power, attaining it, mastering it, and owning it.
And snuffing it out.
Exactly. in every given situation. He even mentions, not real quick, John, he even mentions when he's referring to Tusk, how Tusk knows the difference between power and money, and that is very dangerous because...
And further on in that conversation, he says he doesn't measure his wealth in power...
In private jets, but in purchased souls. I remember that line.
Yeah.
So that says a lot
Frank,
right there. That's totally Frank, and that's how he actually looked at Raymond Tusk as a formidable opponent, not somebody who he can.
But he doesn't want him as an opponent. He wants him as a partner.
He does want him as a partner, but
on his own terms.
On his own terms, and that's why he says.
And only because that's the only play that he can play. He would rather purchase Raymond. He just can't.
Right.
So the only other viable option is to partner with him, but he's definitely not going to sell his soul to Raymond.
Right. So that was very interesting. This whole Freddie's.
Yeah,
that's jumping ahead.
Well, but can I say something? I knew that Remy was going to end run. I didn't know where Remy was going to go, but I knew that somehow, because this is the thing is, that this is the first time, other than Remy's interaction with Claire, that he's ever brought anything from an emotional standpoint.
Right.
In Frank's house, like, he basically was saying, like, no, you treated me like an underling. I'm coming for you. That's really what he said. And that's why Frank was like, yo, like, seriously, like, we have to go here.
Right.
But that, to me, showed he was trying to make a power play, but from a place of emotion.
Right.
And Frank played his hand. It just so happens that I think he's lucky enough that Remy is pragmatic, and that potentially, because Frank is very good, he's basically like a reactionary strategist.
Right.
He's very good in the moment. So in that moment when he saw Tusk in his favorite spot, he realized, okay, it's a formidable opponent. he can't use Sandcore, and he said he's like, then he's going into battle without an army.
Right.
So now what do we
hope? So he has to hope that whatever. But I mean, he was smart for actually going. He had to go meet with Scott Cunningham from Sandcorp and see what the play was and what was going on, because Remy was not returning his calls.
Yeah.
He met with Remy and told him, like, look, this is the deal. We've got to make a play against this guy with the whole natural gas versus nuclear power scenario. And now Remy is nowhere to be seen.
And didn't take it to Cunningham anyway, so.
Well, we don't know
Did
that.
he?
I think he didn't. I don't think he did either. I don't think he did either.
Well, I don't think he did, but he kind of left it in the air. You kind of really didn't know.
Right.
You
could believe either way, but I don't think he did.
They kind of left it open. But, you know, it was evident Remy, he said he had to trade up when he had a meter at
Between
Freddie's.
a fish and a whale.
That's right.
That to me also showed that Remy is not to be played with. This dude is next season. I think next season, after, this is a prediction, sorry guys, early prediction, I think that after Frank becomes VP, he's supposed to be in a more powerful position as the VP, and Remy's going to end up using his resources. He's going to get his balls in a vice.
Well, yeah, because he's working for Tusk now, and so Tusk is going to want X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
He learned from the best. I mean, he did the same thing with Zoe. He's created these monsters, mini-me monsters like him, that are now running around, and he can't control them.
I think that he just didn't utilize. Remy probably has some experiences with Frank when he was working for him as his press secretary for all those years. That really was, in a matter of speaking, probably showed his disrespect for them in certain manners.
I've worked for you for 10 years. It's the first time I've been in your house.
Right. So it was just like, he didn't utilize him to the utmost and help him advance his career. Everything is about Frank. That's the problem. The problem with Frank is he's really not trying to help anybody else. He's only using people's vices against them and their skeletons against them to help himself.
And what was the line that he used? He goes, I only use people that I can throw away, that I can discard afterwards. I form partnerships with people that basically I need.
Right.
Right? And I think I think Remy was making a power play to basically say, you need me, not just Sandcore. Because think about it. And again, even Frank even says, like, I don't want to deal with the middleman, and he runs around Remy. And I think that was his in this scenario, that was his mistake, and that's why the meeting with Tusk had to happen. Because now Remy's thinking, okay, now Frank no longer needs me. Think about it. If you end run around the middleman, then you don't need the middleman.
But see, here's the thing, though.
As the middleman runs around again.
Right, and I think that's exactly what happened. He was literally like, okay, cool. If for any reason, if you tarnish my relationship with Sandcore, because think about it, the guy literally said, Remy only exists as the middleman, so I don't need to speak to you.
Right.
You now broke that, so Remy's basically thinking to himself, like, I need to play both sides just in case for any reason my position at Sandcore is now tarnished, or in the future I don't have a job because I'm no longer needed. Let me play both sides, and I'm going to work, because I don't think he quit Sandcore. You know what I mean? He's still going to work for Glendon Hill. It's just now he has a foot in both.
Well, personally, I don't think that I think Remy was already making a play. See, that's how I interpret it. I think Remy was already making a play with Tusk before Frank even went to go meet with Scott Cunningham of Sandcorp. Before he even took that meeting and flew down there, he was like, this isn't moving fast enough because they have to make a decision by Friday. So this whole threatening...
So then you're suggesting that meeting that he had with Frank, when Remy had the meeting with Frank that said, hey, look, we gotta stop Tusk. You think he went right to Tusk and said, oh, interesting.
Okay.
That's what I think.
I can believe that.
I think Remy was savvy enough to be like, he went home, he slept on it, played the cards out, because just like he said in the meeting, he said, well, Sandcorp can't compete with this guy. This guy's worth, I don't know how many billions of dollars. Sandcorp is small time.
That's a great point.
The small time to him, he's like, okay, well, what is Frank's angle? He's worked with this guy for all he has to do. He can figure Frank out in an hour. He can go home and be like, what is he up to?
Well, I mean,
what is going on?
Seriously,
this is what he's trying
Frank
to do.
gave him everything he needed. Frank said, okay, you just have to just attack his subsidiaries, and all he had to do is go to Tusk and say, hey, look, here's what I know what Frank's going to do to try to stop things.
Go ahead.
Even more of a reason, because he says he's going to be VP by Friday. He's going to be announced, so Remy's probably thinking, well, why not?
And if you think about it, by Remy going to Tusk, now he's increased the value of Sandcorp by almost 40%. The value of their stock went up 35%, like that, and that was all because how Remy went and basically was like, look, this is what's going on. This is what Frank is doing. You need to make a play over here. So basically, you have leverage on both sides, and no matter what happens, you're safe.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if Frank hadn't agreed, was Tusk going to be the vice presidential candidate?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
Tusk was never the vice presidential
Okay,
candidate.
just making sure. But they were playing too close to the deadline.
Yeah.
And that's what Frank used to his advantage. Because that's why at the table he says, so good luck finding a VP candidate in 4 days.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? In negotiations, you never leave it that close. Because now basically Frank used time as a leverage. Frank is under no deadline.
He did.
Yeah.
He did
Tusk was under the deadline. Tusk was like, oh, I'm just basically reminding you that Friday's a deadline. I don't need to be reminded. Obviously, that's your deadline because now I've also leaked information where people now know or think that they know that you're a potential vice presidential candidate.
That's
Right.
why he tells the president we're losing control of the process. And, you know, the way he puts it, like,
Tusk,
as in, like, he's in the, you know, in the White House and he's, you know, there's another chair sitting right next to the president.
Well, he is in the White
it's
House.
unnerving. Well,
he is in the White House.
in the president's brain.
Yeah, he
yeah.
is. I mean, but you got to remember that the president had 30% of the shares, 30% of the shares of a company, one of the companies or subsidiary companies that Tusk owned.
I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was that Tusk owned 30.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, the president was the CEO of Pioneer Air, and Tusk owned a third of the shares when it was bought out by United.
Okay, excellent. Well, either way, they were in bed together.
Yeah.
So what made sense for him is he has to keep this guy. He's like, look, this guy's a power player. This is business. The presidency is only going to last me 8 years. I'm going to make so much money, you know, book deals and stuff. That's not real money. These guys are playing with global economics, which is on a whole nother scale. And that's kind of how they measure their wealth. I think that's how they measure their wealth. And it does have to do with power. So power equals the monetization, which is why Frank values it so much. He says in Bought Souls, when you have so many people who have power that owe you a favor or they owe you one because you did this for them, now who's more powerful? See, it's like
And I'm sorry, and I agree with you 100%. And John said it last episode, and it came to fruition where Tusk laid out specifically why it is that he did not tap Frank to be Secretary of State, and specifically why he needed someone who was both executive and legislative branch because of the Serenium or whatever Samarium that basically is controlled by China. So again,
it's all about the tariffs.
Again, I think he overplayed his hand because now Frank's like, oh, you need me.
Right.
You needed me so much that you couldn't put me in Secretary of State because you basically had another. You needed me for. You had another agenda, and that to me is when Frank knew he had him.
Well,
But I thought it was fairly evenly matched in the sense that they both need each other to get what they want, that's what makes it great because neither of one of them wants to give in at all.
Right.
And it's funny
great.
because, you know, in previous episodes, well, the one where we had Megan sitting in on the show, she was saying, you know, how it's so boring because Frank hasn't met his match and everyone's just giving in to him. So I think he's going to be really interesting in season 2 because they're going to push one another. They're going to get under one another's skin.
And Gerald McGraney does great. I mean, remember how annoyed we were in last episode? Not by his acting, just by the
character.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great.
I mean, it was funny when he was in St. Louis at the Tusk residence. He was stating that it was like, look, you rarely saw on that side of the table, just like I rarely saw on this side of the table. So now Frank is not used to being preyed upon. He's kind of like Russo right now, so to speak. It's like he needs something that, you know, he realized in that conversation that, okay, I have something this guy wants, but I don't really know what it is. Of course, that wasn't revealed until he met with him at Freddy's. At the same time, that's when he had to say, look, he had to present an option of equal loyalty. We work together. He said, I'm loyalty to what's shown loyalty to me. Basically saying, look, we can be in bed together, but I'm not going to be working under anyone's tutelage, as he put it. Like, I'm not going to.
Because you were demanding tutelage.
Exactly. No,
Or indentured servitude.
Exactly. He's not going for it. He's like, that kind of is it's like counterintuitive. Like, why would I become the VP or the president just to be owned by somebody else when I'm looking to become the most powerful person?
And not only that, I think especially for a person like Frank who owns so many souls.
Exactly.
He knows what it's like. So he would never, he revels in that. He has absolutely no respect for the pawns that he throws away. Right. Even in so much as Claire, that's not even really a partnership either. Right. So I think, he would never, ever put himself in that position. I think he would literally rather die.
I don't think he can respect himself.
No, not at all.
So that's where it is.
Not at all.
This guy, let's talk about Claire for a brief second. Claire meets with her attorney.
Yeah.
Because she has to gear up for this war that Jillian's
right, like Emma said. Emma said last episode, obviously that Jillian's going to bring up the pregnancy and say that's why she was fired, and that's exactly what she did.
Now, there's a lot of, even though this situation is there wasn't as many components as to what's going on with Frank, obviously, it was very... There's a lot of symbolism and a lot of stuff going on with this scenario.
For a while, too,
it has to. I mean, you've got Jillian who's going to use the fact that Frank is who he is, the position and title he has, as a platform. And she told her when she came to me, she's like, I'm going to use this as a platform. Now people are going to listen to me that wouldn't listen to me before. So it's not even about the money. It's like, let's settle this out of court kind of thing. It's like, no, this is the whole point. It's like basically she's lying. She's just like it's extortion.
Yeah. It's like Frank created a monster. Claire kind of created this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what she said. Is that the one thing that she took away and she learned is how to lie. Right. So both of them, created monsters. And Claire says the same thing that Frank said to Zoe. She says, "Can we work amicably together?" And
so is this the whole thing about we reap what we sow? Is that?
Yes.
Is that
I don't think Jillian's a monster. I just think she's.
Oh, I completely do. But go ahead.
I don't think Jillian.
She's an idealist, but a
Jillian
monster.
is not a monster. I think Jillian is just giving Claire back what she's.
That's what I mean. Reaping what you sow.
Exactly. I think she's like, you know what, you and your sort. She broke it down. She said 90% of. Corporate nonprofits?
No, grants, all the grants. 90%, you get 90% of the grants.
Exactly. And she expressed this, and she broke it down. She was like, and this is why. This is that corrupt
I'm going to be so
BS.
rude.
This is that corrupt BS that goes on, why the small people like Worldwell, who have all the utmost and best intentions, get the little bitty portion of the money, who can't really do the integrous work that we're trying to do, because the corrupt nonprofits who get all the 90% of the grant money and blah, 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 get it. And ultimately, they're just playing in this circle with each other, and only a little bit of the work really gets done.
Yeah.
I think that is her thing.
Okay, I'm going to be intentionally rude.
Okay, here we go.
Who cares?
Who cares about Claire?
No. Who cares about Jillian? Like, boo-hoo, Cry Me a River. It would have been different.
Claire's gonna be Cry Me a River.
No, but it would have been different. It would have been different if CWI presented itself as tree hugging.
Okay.
From the minute Jillian walked in, she should have trusted her instincts. When she looked at the address, we don't even know where the address is. We know the address is Prime Real Estate in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Number two, when she went in the offices and she saw the offices and she saw the setup, and as she was negotiating, she knows that obviously, the photos and basically what Claire was saying, and she expressed that concern. But why? Because of her own self-interest, she decided to get in bed with corporate nonprofit. Right? Now she's using the fact that they're corporate nonprofit, and just like Claire said, she's now able to do things that she wasn't able to do. Remember in previous episodes how quickly she walked in and was like, oh, I'm going to need, what was it, $500,000? $200,000. Yeah. She would have never been able to just walk in with one conversation to get $200,000. She was reveling in this new corporate power, and that's what got to her head. You can't call corporate bad. She was completely, I think she was feeling herself, and that's why I think she felt like she could go toe to toe with Claire. But to me, to lie and then potentially to go to court and lie, you've lost all of your integrity, because the difference with Claire is Claire's up front. Claire may be subtle and cold, but it's obvious that Claire was like, oh yeah, so that's, we took money from them to get the filters out. What's your point? It's now Jillian basically saying, oh, because my cause is right, it's okay to do something bad. That's what every fanatic says. Yeah, every fanatic or everyone says. What
Frank and Claire say. They don't mind killing people because their cause.
True, and we think they're bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So if she's doing the exact same thing, she's bad too.
I agree. I think she lost all
Moral of the story: two wrongs don't make a right. Kids.
Exactly.
She lost her morality. I think it makes great TV, though. That's all.
It does make good TV.
The thing is that CIW started off with CWI. Started off, with some sort of, goal or, but once you get bigger in the food chain, as you say, you have to bend and twist a little to accommodate your funding source as well. So even though Worldwell is small and she's a tree hugger, as we say, but once that money starts coming in, she would have done exactly what Claire is doing as well.
I'm not necessarily going to say that. I'm just saying, though, at the end of the day, the fact that Claire is offering you back your company, take it and leave. Now there's obviously you have another agenda, which she said, and you're now using Claire as your platform. I'm not going to feel bad for you that you're willing not only to take down another human being, but for me, the line that just did not sit right with me, I'm going to use also not only the lie, but I'm going to use your husband's position. That was a low blow, because it's not even like you're coming for me. You're basically utilizing the fact that my husband is in a position of power to try to leverage me to do what? Just for a platform? That's a low blow.
Well, you gotta also remember that she also vouched for Linda Vasquez's kid. So I just thought about that right now. She vouched for Linda Vasquez's kid. So she's probably looking at Claire and Frank like, you know what? I just used as a pawn. I never met this kid. I did a recommendation.
But again, everyone
she's probably like, what is the deal? Like,
this is my thing.
She's not a dumb chick. Obviously, she's a smart woman, and she's coming from an angle of looking at the grand position.
Okay.
And I'm not saying her lying about this is right. We obviously know what her justification is, but
okay, isn't there a line? There's a saying.
If
it's
you're
like
boxing, expect to get punched.
But also too, isn't there? It's what's the saying? You can't con an honest man, or you can't con an honest woman.
Right.
It's the same thing. She didn't have to do anything. We all have choices, and one thing that I think as human beings, we always have a choice. The choice may be something that you're not willing to do, but you have a choice. So she had a choice from the very beginning when Claire approached her not to take the job and stay with your world well and basically keep, fighting the good fight. That's not what she chose. She chose to get in bed with the CWI. She knew who Claire's husband was. She knew that there were corporate interests, right? Keep moving down the line. When Frank says, oh, I need you to do me this favor, that's when you say no. If you get fired, but you have your integrity. Mm-hmm. Each time you make a choice to put away your integrity for something else, that's your choice, I'm not going to look badly on the other person, because at the end of the day, all Frank is doing is looking out for Frank's best interest. Right?
Well,
and unapologetically so.
Right.
So I'm going to look at her in the same line or the same vein as Frank and Claire, that basically that's what she's doing. She's looking out for her own best interest. And when it serves her, she's willing to throw out her morality and her integrity. That the very basis of morality and integrity is that you have it no matter what.
Well, I kind of look at it like a street fight. If you got two guys that are like, okay, they're going to knuckle it up and they're going to fight, okay? And you got one of the guys who just happens to pick up a weapon. That other person is like, look, we just made an agreement that we were going to, say they made an agreement that they're just going to have a fist fight. Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of the guys decides they want to pick up a weapon because maybe they're a little more intimidated by this guy for whatever reason. They pick up a weapon, right? The other person is a fool to not pick up a weapon as well. Fool. It's just, regardless of what you want to say, she's lying, it could be wrong, but hey, they made an agreement. That person is going to sit there and keep fighting. This person has a pipe or a knife or whatever, and they're going to keep boxing. Fool. They're stupid.
Well, I don't disagree with you.
She has to level the playing field some kind of way.
Sophia's analysis at all. I think she has lost her integrity and all that stuff, and I think it's fine only because.
But now, see, I'm not saying that's right or wrong.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
I'm saying in real world, yeah, we'd be wrong. But if you, like you said, if she makes the choice to join that corporate world, she better well arm herself with the corporate rules.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's
my point.
Well, and I just appreciate that someone's going up against Claire and using the mother thing, just because I think it's just great.
That's on the stomach.
Oh, yeah, all that stuff. I mean, I was like, oh, damn, that's good.
But that's weak. I mean, if you strongly believe in something, you do it because you believe in it. Don't use your pregnancy as a disability to get what you want. But
John's point, that was a great point.
It was.
Yeah,
it's a great point.
In terms of story and character,
personally
it's wonderful.
Yeah, I don't feel sorry for her.
I don't feel sorry for her either. I think she's doing. she went into the corporate world.
I don't feel like
and she's like, oh, okay, this
but
is
how is this now going to come into play with Frank being a vice president?
Well, because
you can't have, because at the end of the day, she's not going away.
No.
Because Claire offered her money.
Right.
She's not going to take it. Claire offered her back. Claire offered her back the company back. She's not going to take it.
That's Frank's wife. She might go away.
Well, yeah, because who knows? But that's why I think it's great, because now he's going to be in the not the running, but he'll have to be appointed or approved, I guess. But is it the House that holds it?
And this kind of situation is not the kind of situation that Frank is going to allow.
Which is great.
To hinder him from stepping into the White House.
She's going to be there in front of all those cameras, nice and pregnant.
Yeah, something just might happen to her.
That's going to be good.
Her and her pregnant, her
but technically, but that levels the playing field. I know that's not why she's doing it, but that potentially levels the playing field, because now you have pregnant.
Yeah.
Because it's different when you have okay, sorry, the fight between Jillian and Claire.
Yeah. You mean because she went to the fertility specialist?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Because he said, you meant Jillian. Sorry.
I meant Jillian.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking Claire. Sorry, my bad. I got confused.
I don't think Claire's gonna get pregnant.
Yeah, sorry, I got confused. My bad. I'm good.
I think I'm gonna make an early prediction, but I think she's gonna try, but she's not gonna be able to conceive.
I think that's makes it
also
hard.
Frank's not gonna let her do that.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that she's not going to try.
Oh,
right. And whatever she has worked out with her body or whatever, she doesn't have to tell him that she's changed her regimen or whatever she has going on. Well,
sorry, I said sorry. I don't know why I whispered that. I said they don't sleep together.
That's
true.
Now, you know what's really funny? Me and Emma had this conversation off camera about whether or not we thought that Claire has been... has had abortions or anything like that. She seems like she's so... Emma didn't think that she ever had any because she's so controlled. She keeps...
I think Sophia... We actually had this
the one. We had this conversation.
We all did.
We all did.
Okay, we talked about it on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And you thought that she probably never had it because she's too controlling of her situation. And in the back of my head, I was kind of like, I'm not sure. But your argument made sense, so I went with it. But the fact that she has...
It's Adam.
You think
I didn't even think about that.
Sorry, I don't mean to be like disrespectful and be like, duh, it's Adam. Because again, with Adam, she's a different person. She's carefree and
3 times?
Yes, because they've had different interludes throughout the time period. Does it make sense? Because I'm gonna talk brass tacks. Are we adults? So adult disclaimer. It's an adult show.
Yeah, 14 under. Go to the room.
Her and Frank don't have sex. Let's just be straight up. They don't have sex. That's not the nature of their relationship. That's why he has to go and do other things with other young ladies. But that's really for power, not for
sex.
For sex, right? So at the end of the day, there'd be no need for her to be on protection to prevent her from getting pregnant. However, if Adam is her hiatus sabbatical, you don't plan for that, right? It's just that she's carefree for that time period, so she's also not taking other precautions. It's more likely that that's a time period because she's being more that carefree person than this regimented control princess. Those are the times.
So maybe she'll ask Adam to be the donor.
She can. Adam from the last whatever. That's it. So. That was too much because they said it's the first time they spent more than 48 hours with each other. It's too much. And then when he says you need to kill that part of you,
Adam will show up on the White House lawn like I want to see my kid.
That might be interesting if she would just went to him for the
yes,
for
true
the night
too.
Just to
and not tell him.
Yes.
And not tell him.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
anyway, who knows?
Okay,
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
So Zoe, so let's talk about Zoe a little bit. Zoe is she meets with Jeanine, and she's got Lucas helping out with this investigation, like we talked about before. This Lucas, this guy, he needs to get rid of her.
You want him to get rid of her?
I want him to dump her, man. Okay. She's not.
But I'm even more concerned about like the team, the dynamic they have together. It's like, what happened to reporting? What happened to journalism? You guys are doing spy work now.
No, you don't think that's journalism?
I mean,
journalists do that. Journalists do that. They will.
Absolutely.
They're investigators.
They're investigators. Yeah.
That's what they do.
But it's just how they're going about doing that. It's two competing. It's Slugline and.
But can I say something? Then for that reason, that actually is the epitome of journalistic integrity, because it's not about corporate. It's not about who broke it. It's about the truth
story.
Getting out.
Yeah.
So I think that if anything, they're really expressing the true nature that regardless of
the way it should be.
Exactly, and we said that from before. Remember, it's at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the platform. Journalism needs to come forward, whether or not it's a written newspaper or Twitter.
Right.
And in a weird way, they're kind of expressing a desire for how it should be
how it should be done.
Because they need proof. They can't just be conjecture.
It's always about you're scooping, getting the scoop on everybody else, but it really, who cares? Can't you just be concerned about the truth rather than who gets scooped?
Well, let's talk about the investigation a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, she goes to Lucas and she asks Lucas to talk to his contact right after she sleeps with him.
Yeah.
To go to talk to his contact at the police department.
Very telling that she says. Can we just say that about how she said she didn't know how to react when he said he loved her?
Right.
She just doesn't know what to do with that.
Okay,
Right.
I'm maybe the only one who's a little bit team Zoe. I think that Zoe is typical of a lot of individuals in so much as in the same way that Frank basically didn't have to sleep with her but slept with her. I think it's just kind of what she knows.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I don't necessarily think it's with malicious intent. I think she knows what she's doing, but I don't think she's consciously saying to herself, I'm going to use my sex to get ahead.
No, but when that happens, when you see that kind of behavior, you kind of go, okay, what happened early such that you don't really know how to deal with that as an adult?
I was thinking that when she was speaking with, who was the counselor?
The teacher.
The teacher she was speaking with, I felt like she was connecting with Rachel's story, not, fully, but in a way she understood why she left home. And she's left home and never, she hasn't gone back to see her family.
Hasn't asked for help or anything like that. And there's that whole thing about she was on the phone with Daddy doing talking an octave higher and all that other stuff. So there's some, we don't know what the backstory is. We can only speculate on that.
Maybe next season we'll find out.
Yeah.
I want the next season her to be sleeping with Lucas, and while they're sleeping together, she's like, I need you to sneak into some files. I want her to do I want her to not wait. I want her to actually ask while they're doing it.
No,
I don't know
Show how grimy she really is.
not grimy.
No, she is a little broken, though. We don't know why.
She's broken, but
and
not
stuff like that.
grimy.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously, Lucas sees something. I still think he has a little bit of a white knight thing going on, trying to help her out. But I don't find fault in that. I think he has legitimate and valid feelings for her and wants to help. But I think because he sees that part of her that is decent and striving, and that part of her that wasn't protected early on, that could use some protecting.
Because I think there was a moment at the restaurant where he was impressed by her skill set,
moxie.
like how she just went in there and got the number and called it, and then even think about it. And then after she called and she hung up, he goes, "You shouldn't have mentioned Russo." She then sends a text, right? And he looks at the text and he basically was like, "Oh, she's not going to respond." And she goes, "Yes, she will." And he goes, "I wouldn't." And she responded.
Right.
So I think that's when he's realizing, regardless of whether or not she slept with Frank, which he still is having a problem with of her integrity. She's still a really good journalist. For her years of experience in the field, she still has
great
chops.
instincts.
She's
got,
exactly.
Well, let me say this. Let me say
Exactly.
this.
in terms of that.
Let me say
it that way. Very narrow field of good instincts.
We can agree with that. Yes.
Let me say this. Let me say this about Zoe. Zoe, the problem with me and Zoe is that although I like her as a journalist, she's talented. She's doing her thing, right? But the problem I have with her is the fact that she didn't have to start sleeping with Frank. She was already getting fed stories. It wasn't she didn't start sleeping with him to get stories. She was already getting stories from Frank.
Right.
Frank was already utilizing her.
Well,
Frank was already letting her
let's face it,
use her career.
She was flirting with him first.
She started flirting with him, which was unnecessary. She didn't have to do that. He was already using her. He was already feeding her stories. Then she throws him the tail. She starts sleeping with him. Why? Why are you sleeping with him? And then you crap on the guy. You crap on the guy after you don't want to sleep with him anymore. Now you're like, you're twice my age. In 20 years, you'll still be older than me, and blah, blah, blah. Well, why did you start sleeping with him to begin with? When he didn't solicit you, he didn't solicit her for sex. He solicited her to use in his whatever his scheme was, which had nothing to do with sex at first.
I agree with everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, he's like, she wants to toss me some on the side.
I agree with everything you're saying. However, when do we kind of put weight in terms of age and experience? Right?
Yeah.
And again, I said this, and this is just, I love to run numbers and math. There's no way she's older than 24.
Okay.
Right? So she's 24, and Frank presumably is what? Anywhere between 55 and 65. There is an immense position of power where she's not even seasoned enough. Again, let's compare her with Claire. She's not sophisticated enough to know, even like Remy said, to know her worth yet. So she thinks that that's all that she can give out. That's even why, think about it. She says so quickly with the stripper from last episode, I'm getting my episodes mixed up, like, you can be famous, you don't need to dance anymore, right? And the stripper looked at her basically like, keep my name out of it. Like, I'd rather have my integrity that way than quote unquote give up my source or be in the limelight, but having told on someone to be famous and not dance, right? Again, just even like Emma said, with the counselor at the school, she was a little bit too connected, right? So there's something there that I think she thinks she doesn't have enough value, that's the only thing that she can put out there. I'm not using that as an excuse.
No, but that's reflected in the way where she lives.
Exactly.
And you can see that she doesn't have a lot of value of herself. So somewhere in her past, there's some broken part of her, whatever it is, and
so
it's acting out now.
Exactly. So I'm not saying that to take responsibility away from her, but a little bit, because here you have this
it just makes him understandable.
Exactly, respectable guy. When should a guy basically be like, no?
Yeah,
he's married. Seriously, we never talk about this. It's like, oh, just because she's giving it to him or presenting on a platter, then he just has to be like, okay.
And I think she realized because Frank is so.
Oh God.
That's where she starts to reflect and go, man, I put myself there with him. Why was it? Because you don't. But human nature, you don't always get it until you're in it, and then you're going, oh my God.
I slept with this guy.
Yeah, and then you start to realize, what am I doing? And that's why she looks around at her house and her surroundings, and she goes, I'm allowing myself to live like this?
But I think if anything happens to their relationship, it's going to be because of Zoe. You know,
Whose
I think Lucas and Zoe, I think she's going to end up walking away from him.
No, I think that's what Thaddeus is thinking too. That's I think why Thaddeus keeps calling him a fool. Is that true or no?
Well, he wants Lucas to break up with her.
Well, regardless of, I just don't want them to end up together. Period. Whether he breaks up with her, I don't care how it happens. I just think that she's not good for him
at the moment, because she hasn't really figured out what's going on with herself. She's bad news.
Yeah.
And it's not she's not a bad person. She's just, you don't want to be in a relationship with her because she hasn't even figured out her own stuff.
I mean, she's on the path like Jeanine. And Jeanine.
Oh, I totally disagree with you.
Well, she's already been doing it.
No, but she only did it with one person. Jeanine said that she kept going to multiple people and then it got around.
Right.
Zoe's done it once. Like, there has to be redemption, and that's why they bring in the church.
Right. And Jeanine
was some time.
No, because we're basically being like, what? People have to be perfect here. You just throw them away. They do one bad thing. Dude, I guess I'm the only one who does not live in a glass house.
Okay. So
Frank's going for VP. So I don't know. They might go back to being
I think
tight allies again.
Wow.
No, I thought their interaction.
Zoe's wonderfully flawed, and it makes her a great grist for the mill. And I like the fact that she, as good of a reporter as she is, she's not the best at everything in reporting, and she has to learn that because that gives her somewhere to go with an arc. Right. She can learn from Jeanine, who's got way more experience. She can learn from Lucas, who has way more integrity. Right. It's great that they have her where she is. She's completely flawed, and it's wonderful, and she should be.
Right. I think that Lucas is just a nice guy, and she's using sex as a means of keeping the men close to her that she has found comfort and shield in.
Well, yeah, I think that goes right to Sofia's.
Yeah, right. And
I feel like
her value.
Exactly. That's the same thing that happened with Frank.
Yeah.
So.
But in a way, I think this is kind of a cleansing period for her as well, because she's cleansing out from being with Frank, and I think I've really seen a new Zoe in the last couple of episodes, because she doesn't have that power and control from Frank, and she's actually able to be herself.
I think it's a brilliant point, Emma.
Actually reporting.
It's a brilliant point, Emma.
Well, she's actually reporting now and not just getting hearsay and conjecture and
Well,
tips.
I do like how Stamper has put the fear of God in these reporters.
Yeah, nice Stamper.
Stamper's coming through like.
Okay, can I say something? I think Meacham is going to be the next Stamper. I don't know why, but I just have that feeling the way
he looks kind of like a zealot, doesn't he? Like I'm very grateful.
I mean, he's definitely, you know what, Meacham,
Mr. Vice President.
Meacham would, I think, do whatever Frank tells him. He realizes that, look, I mean, this guy's the man. I need to listen to everything. My success and future, my well-being, if I'm on his team, is ensured as long as I play the game. I mean, he's conditioned this guy. He said, "You're a rock. You say you don't absorb nothing."
And he's already felt what it's like to lose that gig.
Exactly.
So he doesn't want to lose
because he screwed up, not because.
Yeah.
Frank played him. He said, "Why are you shooting in the middle of the nighttime?" So he screwed that up himself.
Yeah.
Even though he did play into what their scenario was, he went above and beyond
But Sophia was saying when we were watching the episode, she's like, haven't you learned anything from the other episodes?
Oh, when they were running, when he was like, oh, do you want me to ride alongside you? And he goes, no, stay here. I screamed to the TV like, don't you know better? Like, especially after you just said, Mr. Vice President. Go ahead.
Briefly, let's talk about the faucet. Does that have anything to do with
the goose and the swan? Oh, I thought it was the little origami swan or goose because it's like a gooseneck faucet.
Interesting. I thought it was because she's now dreaming of the kid.
That's true.
She's got blood on her hands. She fixed the I think it has something to do with that. He's getting now things are falling to pieces.
The machine
things
broke.
Things are coming off the rails.
I took that actually as now Claire has to step up once again and fix something that he broke.
Interesting.
Really?
Because even as small as it is, he doesn't really look at the small details, which comes back and bites him in the behind because he ignores them.
And something that he could take a wrench to fix, he takes a hammer to.
Right. Sometimes,
and he says actually breaking anything. Well, he says that won't shut up.
Yeah,
right. And also right before we wrap, because we got to wrap. When the last scene when they're running, he starts to emerge ahead of her and push forward. And I think that was a symbol that he's taking back control of the situation with his marriage.
Remember,
in the whole scenario.
And what she wanted was them to be side by side, and they started out that way. Which
he surges ahead as he has to be the guy on that island.
Okay, I'm gonna do predictions and tell you where you can reach me. Okay. It's gonna have to either be Claire or Zoe or both that he's going to have to take out. Those are the two people who potentially could upset his vice presidency. Because Zoe, is she going to tell on him?
No. Jillian. But let's go.
At Sophia Stanley, Twitter, at Sophia Stanley.
They're going to take out Jillian, and the baby will survive, and Claire will get the baby.
Oh, shit.
Ooh.
Go, Emily.
Actually, I'm gonna go on that. I'm actually gonna say that Claire's gonna offer her money to adopt that kid.
Whoa.
You can find me on Twitter at I am Emma K and Instagram real Emma K.
John, where can you find us?
You can't find me anywhere, man. I'm gonna be incognito.
Yo, find us on YouTube. I know you guys got some more comments you guys want to make and say some things because we could have gone on for like another hour on this. But until next season, you guys can find me on Club Thaddeus, Twitter and Instagram. Until next time, AfterBuzz. The IG.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff. We would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.